Welcome everyone to this channel. My name is Janet and I'm working through the King James's Bible. Today I'm in the book of Leviticus and I'm working through chapters 11 until 13. So we are getting into more details about what laws the Lord is giving to Aaron and Moses, because as you know, he has taken the Israelites out of Egypt. He now wants to live alongside them, God, and to do that they have to follow strict rules and regulations in order to live alongside God. So we've already covered a lot of rules in terms of the sacrifice, how that all has to take place. And now we move into chapter 11, where God is speaking to both Moses and Aaron. And he's relaying to them about all of the animals, the creatures and the sea life that are classified as clean, which are holy, and which are classified as unclean, which means unholy. So we'll start off with the land animals. And God says that whatever parts the hoof and is cloven-footed and chews the cud, among these animals you may eat. So you might wonder, what kind of animal is that? Just to give you a visual, because I always like visuals, I think they help. You can see here, those are the cloven-footed animals. So we're looking at giraffes, we're looking at sheep, cows. Those are all clean animals. Anything that is not cloven-footed like this is classed as unclean and cannot be eaten. They also have to chew the cud. So they basically chew the food and then regurgitate it up and then swallow it. That's what these animals do. And I guess in a spiritual sense, that kind of means that, you know, you're ruminating about God, you're spending time in that holy, thoughtful place. That's kind of the symbolism with these animals. So we will cover insects on the land as well. And it says, you may eat winged insects which walk on all fours, those which have above their feet jointed legs with which to jump on the earth. So this includes grasshoppers, crickets and locusts. Everything else you can't touch. And now it says every swarming thing is not to be eaten, whatever crawls on its belly, whatever walks on all fours, whatever has feet. Anything like that is a big no-no. So let's cover the water sea creatures now. And it says everything in the water that has fins and scales, whether in seas or rivers, anything else is off limits. So we're looking at fishes and things like that. Crabs, they are a no-no, cannot be eaten. Anything like lobster, no, they cannot be eaten either. So strict rules again as what can and cannot be eaten in the water. And then finally we move into the air element, and we have the animals that we cannot eat are bats, vultures, eagles, heron, owl and an ostrich. So those are not to be eaten. Anything that's kind of like a scavenging bird is not to be eaten. So those are the types of birds we cannot eat. Anything beyond that we're allowed to eat. So things like, you know, the pigeons and the turtle doves, obviously they're in the sacrifices, so they are to be eaten. Okay, and it says if you touch anything, you must wash yourself. So you become unclean if you've touched any of these unclean animals or creatures. And what happens is you usually have to wait a whole day. So you wash yourself and then you're sort of clean by the next day. So yeah, that covers chapter 11. Chapter 12 now, we're moving into the specifics in terms of a woman giving birth. So we'll just go into the details of that. Now God says, a woman who gives birth to a son will be ceremonially unclean for 7 days, just as unclean during her monthly period. Now on the 8th day the boy is to be circumcised. Then the woman must wait 33 days to be purified from her bleeding. She must not go to the sanctuary or touch anything sacred until the days of her purification are over. So that is what happens when a woman gives birth to a son. Now, if a woman gives birth to a girl, for 2 weeks she'll be unclean, as like her period, and then she must wait 66 days, so double that of a boy, to be purified from her bleeding. Once again, the purification is over for either the boy or girl. She must bring to the tabernacle a year-old lamb for a burnt offering and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. So she must bring these to the Lord once she has been purified. Now she'll give those obviously to the priest because she will not be able to commune with the Lord. Only the priests can do that. So she'll bring this to the priest and they will offer them before the Lord to make atonement for her. Then she'll be ceremonially clean from her flow of blood. Now if she can't afford a lamb, she is to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, and they are to be burnt for both the burnt offering and the sin offering. So there we have it. That concludes the woman's rules for her giving birth. And we move into chapter 13. Now this chapter is pretty intense. It's going into lots of details which I'm not going to cover in this video. The link is under this video if you want to check that out yourself. Now this is all about concerning leprosy, really, the disease, the skin disease. We're looking at very detailed information in terms of what appears on a person's skin and how it is to be analysed. So I'll just cover the basics. So the Lord is telling this to Moses and Aaron again. He's speaking to them both. And he says, when anyone has a swelling or a rash or a shiny spot on his skin that may be a defiling skin disease, which is usually classed as leprosy back then, they must be brought to Aaron or one of his sons who is a priest, and the priest has to then examine the person. So they're a bit like a doctor now as well, the priests. And they have to examine the sore on the skin and decide if it's clean or unclean. And the Lord gives very specific details on what to do depending on what they see on the person. So if unclean, they'll be pronounced ceremonially unclean. So they'll be pronounced it to the whole community, so they'll know this person's sick. So they'll examine what they see on the skin, and then they have to isolate the person for 7 days and to see then how it's appeared, you know. And if it's unchanged and it's not spread, then yes, to isolate again for 7 more days. So 7 more days, and then on the 7th day, if nothing's changed and the skin's faded, he or she is pronounced clean, so they can go. So they kind of have like a 2-week period. They've got a thing, they check it out, they give it a week, they look again, see if it's changed. If it hasn't, 7 more days just to be on the safe side, and then they're allowed to go out. And he covers things like raw flesh, you know, so it's more like these have got to be like raw scabs open or boils, things like that. And we're trying to classify whether it's just a scar from something or whether it's actually diseased skin. That's what's being discussed here. Also, if somebody ends up having the disease, they have to basically declare themselves unclean, and they are to be basically isolated away from the camp. They're not allowed to come near. So there we have it. Those are the 3 chapters, and they cover a lot of details in terms of, you know, what animals we're allowed to eat, what we cannot eat. Then it goes into a woman as she gives birth, how she is then purified after a birth, whether it be a boy or a girl. And then the final chapter is looking at diseased skin and classifying whether that is clean or unclean. Now this is all about the Lord, you know. He has a way, he's so holy, he cannot have any of these things near him. It's almost like the Lord is getting very analytical as well of the people. He wants to know everything so that he feels safe, maybe, because it's almost like if you're not clean, then you're a danger to him, but also to yourself. You'll end up being burned. Look at Aaron's brothers, how they were killed in the previous chapter by messing around doing things sinfully because the Lord did not command that of them, and then they were killed. It could be the same for the food that you're eating. You know, you become unclean, and it's just, this has got to be cleansed. God wants the Israelites to be special, to stand out, and to have this holiness about them. And in order to be that, and for him to watch over them, they have to follow these specific rules. So that's really, to me, what these chapters are covering. And again, how you use these in your life is down to you. So I've laid the information out there for you, and I'll leave you with that. and I'll see you again tomorrow for more chapters within Leviticus. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bye.